Have you ever felt like someone secretly loves you, but you just couldn't prove it? Maybe there's a person who always lingers a little longer, looks at you in a certain way, or suddenly pulls away the moment things feel too close. Deep down, you sense something is there, but no one says a word. What if those quiet glances, subtle jokes, or accidental meetings weren't random at all, but signs of a powerful love? They're too scared to confess? In this video, we'll uncover 13 psychological signs backed by the work of Carl Jung, an attachment theory that reveal when someone is silently in love with you. These aren't just guesses. They're unconscious behaviors that people can't fake or hide, even if they try. You'll discover how love hides in body language, dreams, emotional tension, and even the way someone says your name. And most importantly, the final sign will show you how to recognize and respond before it's too late. Don't miss this. If you ignore these signals, you could miss the love of your life simply because it went unspoken. So stay with me until the end, because once you know what to look for, you'll never see silence the same way again. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. The first sign of silent love, the things they don't say out loud. Have you ever felt like someone was treating you in a way that didn't quite make sense, like their words and actions didn't fully match up, yet something in your gut whispered that there was more beneath the surface? That might be your first brush with silent love. Carl Jung, the brilliant mind behind analytical psychology, had a name for this hidden phenomenon: psychological projection. In essence, it means someone may be unconsciously projecting their deep, unspoken feelings onto you, feelings they haven't even fully acknowledged within themselves. And let me tell you, this kind of love doesn't always come with flowers and sweet words. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's masked by strange behavior. But when you see it, when you feel it, something in you just knows. This silent affection can reveal itself in two powerful yet contrasting ways. One of them is idealization. The person starts to see you as something magical, something extraordinary. They hang on to your every word. They admire the way you laugh, the way you express your thoughts, the little quirks that make you, even the smallest details, how you brush a strand of hair behind your ear, or how you sip your coffee, become enchanted moments in their eyes. You might catch them staring, smiling for no reason, or giving you compliments that feel oddly specific. And while it can be flattering, it's also a little overwhelming, because behind those admiring eyes is a heart wrestling with emotions too big to say out loud. But here's the emotional twist. Not all silent love feels sweet. Sometimes it wears the mask of sarcasm, or playful teasing, or even light disagreements that come out of nowhere. They'll argue with you over the tiniest things, or throw in little jokes at your expense that always circle back to you. It can be confusing because they laugh, you laugh, and yet something is lingering underneath. And I believe with every fiber of my being that this teasing is more than just banter. It's their clumsy, quiet way of asking, "Do you see me?" What's even more telling is when you start noticing that they talk about you when you're not even around. They quote you. They bring up things you like. They repeat your catchphrases. It's like your voice has taken up space in their mind, and without even realizing it, they carry a piece of you with them into every room they enter. I've seen this happen, and it's heart-wrenchingly beautiful, because it's love trying so hard to stay hidden, yet slipping out in every unconscious word and action. Repressed emotions, especially love, don't just disappear. They seep into gestures, into speech patterns, into the ways someone treats you differently than they treat everyone else. Whether it's overwhelming admiration or gentle teasing, when someone behaves inconsistently around you more intensely, more emotionally, it might be the universe's way of whispering, "There's something more here." Can you think of someone who fits this description? Someone who seems to orbit your world, never quite landing, but never straying too far. The second sign of silent love, the tug-of-war between distance and desire. Now, here's another deeply moving sign of hidden love: contradiction. Have you ever been around someone who at times is incredibly present, fully engaged, laughing with you, leaning in close, eyes glowing with connection, only to become cold, distant, or even completely unreachable the next day? That's not just mixed signals. That's the heart in conflict with itself. According to John Bowlby, the father of attachment theory, this kind of behavior often stems from what's known as ambivalent attachment. It's the internal struggle between a fierce desire for closeness and a paralyzing fear of rejection. These individuals crave connection so badly it hurts, but the moment they feel vulnerable, they recoil, pulling away to protect themselves from the pain they think might come. Carl Jung also touched on this beautifully. He said that when strong emotions are repressed, they tend to show up in unpredictable, sometimes confusing ways. And honestly, I've seen it firsthand. A person can seem like they want to be near you all the time, texting you late into the night, laughing with you like they've known you forever, and then suddenly they're gone. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. And that vulnerability terrifies them. In silent love, this creates a heartbreaking cycle of reaching out, then retreating, of warmth followed by silence, of eye contact that lingers too long, and then avoidance the very next day. And what's truly fascinating and emotional is that this behavior is usually reserved for you, not others. You. That's what makes it feel so personal, so intense. Because you start noticing the rhythm, they pull away, and yet they always return. Why? Because silent love doesn't fade, it rearranges. It hides in the pauses between texts. It hides in the way someone avoids looking at you after a deep conversation. It hides in the moments when they almost say something, but stop themselves. So if someone in your life is always dancing between closeness and distance, pay attention. That tug-of-war isn't indifference. It's silent love, aching for expression but too scared to step into the light. And perhaps, in their quiet way, they're saying everything they feel without ever uttering a single word. And if you've ever loved someone silently, you know exactly how much strength it takes to carry that secret in your heart, and how much it aches when the words get stuck in your throat. Have you ever been the one who pulled away just to protect what you felt? The third sign of silent love: acts of kindness that speak louder than words. Sometimes the most profound kind of love doesn't come dressed in grand romantic gestures or passionate confessions. Instead, it hides quietly behind the smallest, most selfless actions, gestures that often go unnoticed by the rest of the world. But if you look closely, these subtle acts reveal everything. Picture this. You come home after a brutal day, your body tired, your mind drained, your spirit just barely holding on. And then something small, yet incredibly meaningful happens. Someone, without being asked, has already taken care of something for you. Maybe they refilled your gas tank. Maybe they sent you a message just when you needed it most. Or maybe they did something so simple, so ordinary, like leaving your favorite snack on the counter, knowing you'd need that comfort. And when you thank them, they just smile and shrug. Oh, it was nothing. But you know what? It wasn't nothing. It was everything. This, to me, is one of the most beautiful expressions of silent love. It's not loud. It doesn't seek attention or applause. It exists purely in the intention behind the act, the quiet, unwavering care for your well-being. It's someone loving you so deeply that they don't need to say a word, because their heart is already speaking through what they do. I've always believed that when someone goes out of their way to ease your burden without being asked and without expecting anything in return, that's not just kindness. That's love in its purest, rawest form. And often, the person doing it doesn't even fully realize why they're doing it. It's instinctive. It's love moving through them in the only way it knows how, through service, through protection, through attention to the smallest details. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Maybe it's that co-worker who volunteers to take on part of your workload when you're swamped, not to score points, but because they genuinely want to make your day a little easier. Maybe it's the friend who knows exactly how you take your coffee and bring it without saying a word, just because they remembered and because they see you. Or maybe it's someone who notices you're struggling emotionally, and while they don't push you to talk, they stay nearby, quietly holding space for you, just in case. As Carl Jung once explained, when we repress emotions, especially love, they don't simply disappear. They leak into our behavior. They show up in the things we do, especially when words are too terrifying to speak. In the case of silent love, these feelings manifest in quiet, consistent actions, little sacrifices, thoughtful gestures, all done not out of obligation, but because this person cannot not care for you. And perhaps the most touching part? They don't want recognition. They shy away from it, because to them, it's not about being seen or thanked, it's about you being okay. And that, right there, is the kind of love that stays with you. Not the loudest, but often the most enduring. So, if there's someone in your life who's always going the extra mile for you, who always seems to anticipate your needs, who lightens your load without a word, don't overlook it. That might be the only way they know how to say, "You matter to me more than I can explain." The 4th sign of silent love, when the universe keeps bringing you back together. Now here's a sign that feels like it belongs in a movie, but happens more often than we realize. Have you ever noticed someone showing up in your life over and over again, as if the universe itself refuses to let them drift too far from your orbit? That, my friend, could be the universe whispering a truth your hearts haven't yet spoken aloud. These aren't just random encounters. These are moments of synchronicity, a concept Carl Jung called meaningful coincidences, those strange, magical events that feel too perfectly timed to be accidental. Maybe you keep bumping into this person in the most unexpected places. Or maybe you were just thinking about them and suddenly they call. You find out you like the same obscure song, the same weird movie, the same quirky coffee shop. Conversations with them seem to flow effortlessly. The more you talk, the more you realize how eerily connected your lives seem to be. I don't think that's random. Sometimes, love doesn't just speak through gestures or words, it speaks through timing, through patterns, through energy. When someone is always around, when your lives keep colliding, it might be because they are unconsciously drawn to your presence. Even if they've never confessed how they feel, something inside them is constantly reaching toward you, trying to stay near, even if they don't know why. And here's something you can't ignore: the energy between you when you're together. Have you ever felt it? That charged stillness, the glances that last a beat too long, the silence somehow says more than an entire conversation ever could. You laugh, you talk, but underneath it all is this hum, this unspoken emotion neither of you has dared to bring into the light. That push-pull of comfort and restlessness, that silent love stirring below the surface. In these moments, it's as if time slows down. Your heart feels it before your mind can explain it. There's a magnetic pull, a sense that this person isn't just passing through your life. They're meant to be there, even if the how and why are still unknown. So pay attention to those coincidences, to the person who keeps showing up in your story, to the quiet electricity in the air when you're near them. These aren't just random happenings. They could be signs that something deeper is at play. Sometimes, the universe doesn't scream. It nudges. It lines up moments. It keeps crossing your paths until one of you is brave enough to say, "This isn't a coincidence." Because love, especially the silent kind, has a way of making itself known. even when every word remains unspoken. The fifth sign of silent love. When the body speaks the words the heart is too afraid to say. Sometimes love doesn't shout. It doesn't confess. It doesn't even whisper. Instead, it trembles quietly beneath the surface, revealed not in words, but in movements, in glances, in gestures that seem innocent, yet carry a weight only the heart can understand. This is the fifth sign of silent love, when someone's body betrays the very feelings they try so hard to hide. Because here's the thing, while the mind can pretend, while the tongue can remain silent, the body, it doesn't know how to lie. The body is an honest storyteller, and when someone is harboring secret affection, their unconscious begins to reveal what they can't bring themselves to admit. Have you ever caught someone staring at you, really staring like they were lost in your presence? And then, the moment your eyes meet, they look away in a flash, almost embarrassed. They got caught in that quiet moment of vulnerability? That's not just a coincidence. That's silent love slipping through the cracks. Or maybe you've noticed someone always leaning a little closer when you speak, just enough to feel your energy, to bask in your presence, even if they never say why. It's like they're subconsciously drawn to you, like your very existence pulls something in them forward, even when their words hold back. These tiny, involuntary behaviors are more than just habits. They are emotional leaks, signs that something deeper is flowing beneath the surface. You might see their voice subtly shift when they talk to you, suddenly softer, warmer, more careful. Their words might stumble a little more than usual, or their hands fidget when you're around. They may smile without realizing it the second you walk in, or unconsciously fix their hair, straighten their shirt, or adjust their posture when you're near, as if your presence awakens their desire to be seen, to be noticed, to be enough for you. And then there are the accidental touches, the light brush of a hand, the moment their fingers graze yours and neither of you pulls away, the way their hand lingers just a second too long when they pass you something, as if they're trying to hold on without crossing a line. To an outsider, these things may look like nothing, but to someone who feels, to someone who notices, these small signals carry the weight of unspoken emotion. Carl Jung, once again, understood this perfectly. He believed that when feelings are repressed, when they cannot be spoken, they must find expression somewhere. And most often, they emerge through the body, through the eyes that linger too long, through the nervous laugh, through the hands that tremble ever so slightly when you're near. And I'll be honest, I think there's something hauntingly beautiful about that, because even when someone is too afraid to speak the truth, their soul still tries to reach out. Their love still tries to find a way. So if you notice someone acting a little different around you, more open, more awkward, more alive, pay attention. Watch their eyes. Listen to their silence. Notice the way they shift, the way they move, the way their body leans into you even when they stay quiet. Because love, when it's real, is relentless. It will show itself, even if it's through the subtlest of gestures, the tiniest of movements, the barely there signs that most people miss. And sometimes, the loudest "I love you" is found in a fleeting glance, not a spoken word. The sixth sign of silent love, when your name slips from their lips without them realizing. There's something powerful, almost sacred, about hearing your name spoken by someone who holds quiet feelings for you. It's not just about the name itself, it's about how they say it when they say it, and how often it unexpectedly shows up in their conversations. Have you ever been surprised to hear someone mention your name again and again, even when the topic doesn't seem to involve you? It's as if your name lives on the tip of their tongue, ready to slip out at the slightest memory, the smallest emotional nudge. This might not be accidental at all. It might be love silent, buried, but persistent, finding a crack in the wall they've built to protect themselves. Carl Jung, who dedicated his life to understanding the human psyche, taught that the unconscious always finds a way to speak, even when we try to silence it. When someone has repressed emotions, especially love, the mind begins to express those emotions through indirect means. That's why a person harboring silent love may find themselves bringing you up in random stories, recalling something you said, or just saying your name again and again. It echoes softly through their soul. And if you listen closely, if you're paying attention, you might notice something special in the way they say it. There's a tenderness, a kind of careful pause, a subtle emotional charge. The tone softens. Their eyes brighten or flicker with nervousness. Sometimes there's even a moment of hesitation, as if saying your name feels more intimate than they're ready to admit. I believe this happens because when someone touches your life deeply, when they've become a meaningful presence in your world, it's impossible to keep that locked away forever. Even if they try to suppress it, your name becomes like a melody they hum without realizing, a thread that ties their thoughts back to you. And here's another revealing clue: when they tell stories, somehow you always appear in them. It doesn't matter if the context fits. It doesn't matter if it's relevant. You just show up. That's because we talk most about the people who move us emotionally. It's human nature. We can't help but speak of what matters to us. So if your name keeps resurfacing in their conversations, if they smile a little differently when they say it, or if your presence keeps finding its way into their memories, don't ignore it. That might be silent love working its way out into the open, one accidental mention at a time. And trust me, when someone leaves a mark on our hearts, it becomes nearly impossible to keep them out of our words, no matter how hard we try. The seventh sign of silent love, the quiet sting of jealousy that words never admit. There's a kind of ache that doesn't scream or demand attention. It whispers. It hides behind awkward smiles, half-hearted jokes, and silent withdrawals. It's the ache of jealousy, the kind born from unspoken love. This is the seventh and one of the most telling signs of silent love, when someone shows subtle discomfort, maybe even just a flicker of pain, when you talk about another person who might hold your interest. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Have you ever noticed someone's demeanor shift ever so slightly when you bring up someone else? Maybe their smile falters, their energy changes, or they go quiet while you're excitedly telling a story. Maybe they make a harmless joke about it, something sarcastic, something light-hearted, but behind it, you feel the emotional weight. That's not rudeness. That's not indifference. That's someone feeling more than they're ready to say and trying with all their might not to show it. You see, silent love doesn't always come with sweet smiles and glowing admiration. Sometimes it shows up as tension, tiny cracks in the mask when your attention drifts elsewhere. The person might cross their arms, look away, or change the subject. They may even try to compare themselves subtly to the person you're talking about, as if they're unconsciously trying to prove, hey, I could be what you're looking for too. And that right there is such a painfully honest expression of hidden affection. They may not have the courage to tell you how they feel, but their heart wins when you speak of someone else, because the fear of being replaced or overlooked isn't something you feel for just anyone. It only stings when the person in question means something to you. Carl Jung once said that unacknowledged emotions never disappear. They simply resurface in new, often mysterious forms. And in silent love, jealousy is one of the most transparent of those forms. It shows up in their voice, in their nervous body language, and in the way they start to emotionally retreat when they feel threatened by the idea of someone else having their heart. What's so beautiful and heartbreaking is that their jealousy doesn't come from control or ego. It comes from care, from longing, from a love so sincere, so vulnerable, that even the thought of you being with someone else causes a storm inside them. They don't know how to express, so pay close attention to the subtle signs, the lowered gaze, the sudden silence, the jokes that don't feel like jokes, the random need to highlight their worth. Because in those quiet reactions, You might just find the loudest declaration of love they've never said out loud. No one feels that kind of discomfort for someone who doesn't matter to them. And when the soul is in love, even silence carries a sound. The eighth sign of silent love, when love finds you in dreams. There's something hauntingly magical about dreaming of someone, especially when you didn't expect to. When their face visits you in the quiet corners of the night, when their presence is so vivid that you wake up with their name on your lips and a strange ache in your chest. You can't help but wonder, why them? Why now? This is the eighth sign of silent love, and unlike the others, it doesn't show up in words, touches, or lingering glances. It comes to you in dreams where the walls come down, where your mind is finally still enough to feel what the heart has long been whispering. Have you ever had recurring dreams about someone you haven't spoken to in weeks, maybe even months? Dreams where they don't even say much, but they're there, present, familiar, emotionally significant. When you wake up, you can still feel them somehow, like they left a part of their soul with you. Some cultures believe that if you dream of someone repeatedly, it's because they're thinking about you, that their energy is reaching out, trying to connect, even if they don't fully understand why. And while that may sound spiritual or poetic, even modern science is beginning to scratch the surface of something deeper. Carl Jung believed in the collective unconscious, a vast, invisible field that connects all human beings on an emotional and spiritual level. It's not fantasy. It's not a fairy tale. It's the idea that feelings, memories, and thoughts can be shared silently, without a single word spoken. So when someone harbors intense feelings for you, especially unspoken ones, those emotions might ripple through that hidden field and reach you in your most vulnerable state, your dreams. Even emerging studies on brainwaves and energetic resonance hint at something astonishing. Thought is not just abstract, it carries frequency. It moves like a signal. And when someone thinks about you with great intensity, that thought may vibrate out into the world, crossing unseen distances until it touches your subconscious. What's fascinating is that these dreams are rarely dramatic or full of declarations. Often, they're beautifully ordinary. You might dream of eating together, walking side by side, or sharing a moment of laughter. But when you wake up, it lingers. The emotion of it stays with you, and that's what matters. Because it's not about what happened, it's about what it meant. Personally, I believe those kinds of dreams are messages, delicate, spiritual ones, not always meant to be understood, but to be felt. They remind us that love, even when silent, leaves footprints. Even when hidden, it knows how to find us when our guard is down and our heart is open. So if someone keeps showing up in your dreams again and again, don't dismiss it as random. That could be silent love finding its way to you in the only moment you're soft enough to receive it, in the quiet of sleep, in the language of the soul. The ninth sign of silent love, when they become a mirror of you. And then there's a sign so subtle, yet so telling, that most people miss it entirely mirroring. That's the ninth sign of silent love. When someone unconsciously begins to reflect you, it means you've become a part of them in ways even they might not realize. Have you ever noticed someone picking up your phrases, laughing in the same rhythm as you, using your slang, your gestures, or even copying your expressions without meaning to? Maybe it's someone who starts drinking their coffee the way you do, or who suddenly seems to like the same obscure show you love. At first, it might feel like a coincidence, but the truth? It's not. It's the unconscious trying to connect. When we're emotionally drawn to someone, our brain activates an imitation mechanism known as unconscious mirroring. It's a deeply human instinct, a way of silently saying, "I see you. I want to be closer to you." It's subtle, it's soft, but it's real, and it's powerful. Carl Jung believed that our unconscious connects us to those who leave an emotional imprint on our lives. Mirroring is one of the gentlest, yet clearest ways that bond shows itself. It doesn't require a plan or intention. It just happens. Like their heart is gently tuning itself to your frequency. And it's not just about body language. Mirroring goes deeper. They might begin to share your opinions, or suddenly see things through your eyes. They might become interested in topics you're passionate about, not to impress you, but because your passions matter to them now. You've inspired them, and whether they realize it or not, you're shaping the way they move through the world. What makes this so incredibly touching is that this behavior is rarely deliberate. They don't sit down and decide to mimic you. It's organic. It's emotional. The soul attempts to feel closer without needing to ask for permission. So if someone in your life starts reflecting on your habits, your language, your way of thinking, pay attention, especially if they don't do this with others. It might be the most honest way. They're telling you, I admire you. I want to be in sync with you. Silent love often doesn't declare itself loudly. It doesn't march in with roses and poetry. It mirrors, it blends, it whispers, you've become a part of me. And when someone starts to move like you, speak like you, or even think like you, that's not imitation. That's affection blossoming in the most human way possible, not through speech, but through resonance. Because love, when it's real, echoes. And sometimes, the one who mirrors you is the one who's been quietly loving you all along. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment on number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. The 10th sign of silent love. When the heart wears a mask to survive, there's a kind of love that doesn't come wrapped in tenderness or confessions. Instead, it hides silently, stubbornly behind a mask. This is the 10th, and perhaps the most complex sign of silent love. When someone conceals their true emotions behind a persona crafted for self-protection. Not because they don't feel deeply, but because they feel too much. And the fear of being seen is far more terrifying than the loneliness of staying hidden. Carl Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to function in a world that doesn't always make space for our vulnerabilities. And in the realm of silent love, that mask can take many forms. It might look like sarcasm. It might sound like humor. It might feel like distance, coldness, or complete emotional detachment. But make no mistake, that mask is not the absence of love. It's the presence of love, cloaked in fear. Have you ever met someone who seems to shift the moment they're around you? Someone who suddenly becomes overly playful, constantly cracking jokes to dodge serious conversations. Or someone who pretends not to care, acts cool, disinterested, almost aloof, yet somehow you feel their eyes watching you, lingering a second too long? That's not randomness. That's the emotional armor of someone who cares more than they can safely admit. Because liking someone opens the door to possible rejection, humiliation, and heartbreak. And for many people, that risk is just too much to bear. So instead, they build walls. They lean into humor to avoid intimacy. They hide their trembling heart behind clever one-liners and indifferent stares. And yet, their emotional inconsistency gives them away. One moment, they're warm, present, fully engaged, your biggest fan, your most attentive listener. The next moment, they're distant, distracted, emotionally unavailable. That push and pull, that confusing dance of closeness and retreat, it's not about manipulation. It's the nervous system of a heart on high alert. It's someone who's dying to let you in, but terrified of what will happen if they do. I've seen it. I've felt it. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that emotional whiplash, you know how disorienting and yet how incredibly human it is. Because underneath that mask is someone longing to be loved exactly as they are, but not quite ready to risk breaking open in front of you. They might tease you too much. They might challenge your opinions just to get your attention. They might say the opposite of what they mean just to keep their feelings safe. But if you look closely, their defenses don't mean they're indifferent. They mean they care so much that showing it would leave them unbearably exposed. This is why I believe the people who act the coolest around you, the ones who keep things light, who always change the subject when it gets too real, are often the ones with the deepest feelings. Because silent love doesn't always wear its heart on its sleeve. Sometimes it wears a mask. And that mask isn't meant to deceive, it's meant to protect. So if someone in your life always seems to be performing, always hiding behind humor, sarcasm, or stone-faced indifference, don't be so quick to assume they feel nothing. It might be the opposite. It might be that you've touched something inside them they're not ready to face, and that your presence is the one thing powerful enough to shake their carefully constructed disguise. Sometimes, the coldest person in the room is the one who's loving you the hardest, from behind the safety of their silence. The 11th sign of silent love, when they quietly test your heart without admitting their own. Silent love, by its very nature, lives in the shadows of unspoken emotions. And sometimes, when someone feels something too deeply to express aloud, their heart turns to quieter methods that don't look like love on the surface, but are gentle, calculated ways of testing the waters. This is the 11th sign of silent love, emotional testing. Small challenges, innocent questions, playful teasing. At first glance, they might seem like nothing, but look a little closer, and you'll see someone carefully, quietly trying to understand where they stand in your world without ever having to expose their feelings. Have you ever had someone ask you what kind of person you're attracted to, completely out of the blue? Or maybe they've brought up relationships, loyalty, or hypothetical love scenarios as if they were just making conversation, but the look in their eyes told a different story. It's subtle, but it's intentional. Deep down, they're not just curious. They're hoping your answers will point them in a direction that feels safe or encouraging. Maybe they've even teased you in a playful, flirty way, suggesting you'd make a cute couple, or joking about what it would be like to date someone like you. But beneath the laughter, beneath the casual tone, is a heart that's longing for reassurance, while trying desperately to stay protected. Carl Jung believed our unconscious is constantly searching for meaning, picking up emotional signals, interpreting responses, and piecing together what our conscious mind is too afraid to ask directly. And in the realm of silent love, this often shows up as tiny emotional experiments. Think of it like this: when someone loves you but doesn't feel safe admitting it, they'll create small, low-risk situations where your reaction becomes their answer. They'll observe your body language. They'll listen closely to your tone. They'll watch how your eyes respond when they joke about someone else, or worse, when they mention having a crush. They want to know if you care, but they're too scared to ask you outright. And honestly, I've seen this happen so many times where someone hides their hopes in humor, where love shows up in the form of a teasing smile, or a what-if question that's meant to sound silly, but is achingly sincere underneath. Sometimes the comment is as simple as, "What if we dated?" Or, "You'd be lucky to have someone like me," said with a laugh, but waiting, praying for a deeper response. And if you brush it off, they'll pretend it didn't matter. If you react with curiosity or affection, you've just opened a door they were too afraid to knock on themselves. This kind of emotional testing isn't manipulative. It's not a game. It's self-protection. It's love dipped in caution, wrapped in humor, hidden behind lightheartedness, because the fear of rejection is sometimes louder than the desire to confess. So, if someone in your life keeps crafting little situations where your reaction matters more than the words being said, pay attention. If they ask about your love life, make flirty jokes, drop hints, or talk about other people just to see if you'll flinch. It's not random. It's love in disguise. These small tests are not about ego. They're about hope. Hope that you might just feel the same way. Hope that you'll give them a reason to come closer. Hope that their secret affection might be safe in your hands. Because when someone silently loves you, they'll do almost anything to feel seen without having to risk being hurt. And in those quiet little tests, they're asking the question their lips can't form yet. Could you ever love me too? The 12th sign of silent love, when they're quietly there every time you need someone most. There's a kind of love that doesn't arrive with roses, handwritten notes, or grand confessions. It doesn't show up at your doorstep shouting your name. Instead, it arrives softly, without fanfare, without expectation. It shows up in your darkest hours when your heart is heavy and your spirit is tired. And it shows up not with words, but with presence. This is the 12th, and perhaps most quietly powerful sign of silent love. When someone is always there for you during your most vulnerable moments, without you ever having to ask, think about it. Is there someone in your life who always seems to appear just when you're beginning to fall apart? Someone who senses your sadness even when you're smiling? Someone who reaches out when the world feels too heavy, even though you never told them you were struggling? That's not a coincidence. That's not an obligation. That's love tender, hidden, and protective. Maybe it's a coworker who stays late when you've had a hard day, just to make things easier for you. Maybe it's a friend who texts you at midnight with a meme or a kind word, not knowing you were just about to cry yourself to sleep. Or maybe it's someone who simply notices when you're quieter than usual, when your laughter doesn't reach your eyes, when your strength is just a little too forced. Carl Jung spoke of an invisible force, something deeper than logic, something spiritual that connects us beyond conscious understanding. And I believe that when someone silently loves you, that force pulls them toward you like gravity, not out of duty, but out of instinct, out of something deeper than even they may realize. This kind of support is never loud. It doesn't demand recognition. It hides in the background, disguised as kindness, as just checking in, or just being a friend. But it's consistent. It's intentional. It's the kind of presence that says, I don't need to be in the spotlight. I just need to make sure you're okay. They may ask, how are you? They may offer you coffee when they sense you've had a rough morning. They may defend you in rooms where you're not present. And they might never say they love you, but their actions whisper it every time they choose to stay, when everyone else walks away. What separates this from everyday kindness is consistency. Everyone can be kind once. Everyone can help pass. But someone who chooses over and over again to stand by your side when life gets hard, that's something else entirely. That's not just care. That's not just friendship. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment on number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. That's love. And maybe the most beautiful part of all is that they don't do it for attention. They don't want praise. They don't need you to notice. But somehow, you do. Because in a world full of people who only show up for the good times, their presence during the hard times leaves a mark you can't forget. So ask yourself, is there someone who keeps showing up for you? Someone who's always there in the background when you feel you're most lost, most overwhelmed, most invisible? If so, that person might be silently loving you, fiercely, faithfully, quietly, because the purest kind of love doesn't need an audience. It just shows up and stays. The 13th sign of silent love, when your heart knows before your mind understands. There's a moment quiet, unexplainable when you just know. You can't trace it back to a single gesture, a particular word, or a clear sign. But deep inside you, something begins to stir. A quiet voice whispers, they feel something for me. And no matter how much your mind tries to dismiss it, that feeling refuses to fade. This is the 13th and perhaps most mysterious sign of silent love, intuition. Not theirs, yours. Because sometimes, silent love doesn't begin in someone else's actions. It begins in your soul, in the way your chest tightens when you enter a room, in the stillness that lingers after a fleeting glance, In a strange way, your energy shifts when they're near. There's no logic to it, no proof. And yet, it feels undeniably real. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that intuition is not just imagination, it's a form of deep knowledge. It's the unconscious speaking in symbols, sensations, and instincts, long before the conscious mind can explain what's happening. And when someone silently loves you, your intuition may be already feeling it before your intellect catches up. Have you ever found yourself thinking about someone without reason, sensing their presence before they arrive? Feeling your mood shift because of a look they gave you, even if no words were exchanged? That's not a delusion. That's your inner world responding to something unspoken, but very much alive. We are emotional beings, far more sensitive than we give ourselves credit for. Our nervous system picks up on micro-expressions, tiny vocal inflections, and subtle changes in breathing and body language. While your brain may not register it consciously, your heart and soul know. They recognize when someone's energy wraps around yours a little differently, when a bond exists beneath the surface, even if it's buried under silence and fear. And here's something I believe with all my heart. Love doesn't need permission to be felt. It doesn't need confirmation or clarity. It just is. You don't need someone to say, "I love you," to believe it. Sometimes you feel it in the way they soften around you, in the way their eyes find yours in a crowd. In the same way, their name feels different when spoken. You feel it in the way they hesitate when you're hurting, in how they watch you when they think you're not looking. And when it's silent love, it's even more powerful, because it's pure, untouched by expectation, unspoken, yet somehow louder than words. But I also know how hard it is, how frustrating it can feel to carry the weight of a love that has never been declared, to feel that certainty rise in your chest and have no place to put it, to sense the connection, and yet still wonder if it's real. Let me tell you this, if your soul keeps returning to this feeling, if your intuition keeps nudging you, if you feel it in your bones that something sacred exists between you and this person, trust it. That's not imagination. That's your spirit recognizing something familiar, something profound. It's love knocking gently, asking to be seen. Silent love hides in glances, in late-night dreams, in shared laughter, in sudden silence. It hides in the moments when you feel everything but say nothing. But even in its quietest form, love always wants to be known. And sometimes, the most undeniable sign is the one that lives inside you. So don't ignore your intuition. Listen to it. Feel it. Let it guide you. Because sometimes your heart knows the truth long before the truth is ready to be spoken. Silent love is one of the most beautiful, yet most misunderstood experiences in life. It speaks not in loud declarations, but in quiet presence, in glances, in timing, in unspoken gestures. It lives in the little things, the pauses, the tension, the moments when someone shows up, even when they say nothing at all. Now that we've explored these 13 subtle signs, we want to hear from you. What have you learned about silent love today? Which sign resonated with you the most? Have you seen yourself or someone else in these moments? Take a moment to reflect and comment below with one thing you've learned from this video and how you plan to apply it in your own life. Whether it's trusting your intuition more, paying closer attention to someone's actions, or being more courageous with your own feelings, your insight could help someone else who's watching too. And if this video touched your heart or helped bring clarity to your own experience, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content that speaks to the soul. Until next time, stay open, stay aware, and remember, even the quietest kind of love deserves to be seen.